UFC 225 from the United Center in Chicago. I've actually been to that unbelievable stadium. It's a basketball stadium, and 24 hours later, it's an ice hockey stadium. But we're going to see UFC 225 in there, and Dan Hooker is with us as well. I bet you all wish you were fighting in Chicago in a stadium like that.
Yeah, no, it's a good card. We got, three of our Anzac brothers and sisters on that card: Megan Anderson, Tai Tuivasa, Robert Whittaker. So it's a great card, and there's a lot, invested for the Anzac fans. So there's a lot to look forward to.
Right, we're going to go step by step. There's 12 or 14 fights, right from the early ones, which I think are online, and then the next lot, which are on Freeview, free to watch, and then the pay-per-view. So we'll step through them. We'll probably get a little bit more in depth as the fights, I guess, gain importance and maybe credibility, because there's one I want to ask you about later on that I just like, what the hell?
I think I know the fight.
But we'll get there. Mike Santiago against Dan. It's either Ig, Ij, J, depending how he's feeling, I guess. But Mike Santiago's had a lot of fights.
Yeah, had a lot of fights. I've gone and had a look at him, and he's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. Like, he doesn't really have a direction where he likes to take the fight, whereas Ij, he does. He's a black belt. He's a very strong wrestler with good takedowns. So I think I'm leaning far more towards Ij because he's got direction when it comes to the fight. Santiago is a bit wishy-washy. Like, he'll strike for a bit. If that's not working, he changes his game. Like, he mixes it up. The bad part about his game is that he's comfortable off his back, attacking off his back, and scoring points-wise in a fight that doesn't lead to success, especially against a good wrestler with a black belt who's going to get on top of you, hold you down, win the rounds, and beat you up. And that's how I'm seeing the fight going, and I'm going Age, probably by submission in the later rounds.
Nice. Slight favourite too. We've got a slightly more pronounced favourite in the next one, Charles Oliveira against Clay Guida. Not two more guys that had a lot of fights, a lot of time in the octagon.
Yeah, both veterans and guys I've had my eye on for a very long time because they're both lightweights. Oliveira's was at featherweight and missed weight a bunch of times, so the UFC kicked him up to lightweight. But Oliveira actually took this fight on short notice. So Guida has been preparing for this fight for a very long time. Oliveira has taken this fight on short notice, which is not giving me a lot of confidence. Guida's one of the hardest workers, and his tactic is he comes out and it's constant pressure for 15 minutes, and he actually gets, he adds more pressure as the fight goes down. Whereas Oliveira, I don't particularly like so much. We've seen it in the Felder fight, which was his last fight. He is really aggressive with his submissions, but if that doesn't work, he kind of quits. He gets it. He pushes, he gets tired, you kind of defend that first onslaught, and he kind of quits. He kind of just taps out and wants to go home after that. I think Guida's paying pretty good money.
He is.
The way I'm seeing the fight is if Guida can survive kind of that first onslaught, which I think he can. Very tough veteran, has a lot of experience, and he's a very good grappler. So defensively, I think he's going to be sound. I think he'll be able to defend that, pour it on in the later rounds, and I'm actually picking him to stop Oliveira.
Wow. Let's hope his cornermen have done the homework that you've done, and just absorb for the first round, and then holiday times. Joseph Benavidez against Sergio Pettis. I've seen Sergio fight. He's not the worst.
No, not at all. He's the brother of former lightweight champion Anthony Pettis, and they both have a very similar style. They like to keep it on the feet. They like to keep it at range and use their kicks. But unfortunately, that's not a very effective style against a strong wrestler, which Benavidez is. Benavidez has been at the elite of the flyweight division for a very long time, fought for the title twice, and he's been number one contender for the last few years. So I feel like Benavidez has the experience and the skill set to nullify. I still feel like Pettis has a lot of holes in his game with his kicking game and mixing that in well with his wrestling. So I see Benavidez being able to dictate the fight, control the fight, and out-wrestle Pettis, and he's taken that home by decision, and I'm fairly confident in that one.
I'm going to write that one down. By decision. Rashad Evans against Anthony the Lionheart Smith. Boy, another experienced duo. They're getting some real experience in these early fights.
Yeah, Evans, former champ, and he's had quite a fall from grace lately. You know, he was right at the top of the division, and now he's kind of, I think it's 4 losses in a row, and he's fighting for his position on the roster. And he's against a big, strong, hungry young fighter. I've seen Smith fight before he was in the UFC. I actually watched him fight live, and he is good. He's a big, strong guy, comes hard, and he pushes the pace. I just don't feel like Evans has it anymore. Like, I feel like he's lost it.
The lights are gone out or something?
Yeah, like something's happened. Maybe, you know, with them bringing in USADA, it seemed it was at a very similar time. But I feel like Smith is just going to be too strong, too big, and he's going to pour the pressure on. I see him picking apart on the feet Evans over 15 minutes. Evans fights a lot more tentative these days. He's a lot more restrained with his strikes, and I just don't see him having the pace to match Smith's aggression.
Nice. Another USA matchup between Rashad Coulter and Chris De La Rocca. We've got some great names, as long as some great fighters. But I feel like a sitcom could come out of these. But again, fairly similar sort of records, these guys.
Yeah, I went and had a look at De La Rocha, and his striking is terrible. He has some of the worst striking I have ever seen. And at heavyweight, that's dangerous. Like, one punch, and you can get taken out. This guy, I got like halfway through one fight, and I had to stop watching. It was hurting my eyeballs. Coulter, on the other hand, is very tidy. He's lost a couple fights in the UFC, but that was against stiff competition. He lost to Tai Tuivasa, who's fighting later in this card, and Chase Sherman, which I believe he had a very good fight with, very good war, and I think they got fight of the night for that. Coulter does have nice hands, so if I could put money on Coulter knocking out Rocha, I would go all in on that.
Sounds like maybe the bet of the night, bet of the card. Very, very pumped about that one. Ricardo Lamas against Mirsad Bektic, I'm going to say, the Bosnian, USA-Bosnian matchup here. And Bektic, have you been able to speak anything on him? He's 12-1.
Yep. Bektic I've had my eye on for a long time. Formerly was at featherweight, so I've been watching these guys pretty closely. Bektic was, you know, he was the next big thing. He was touted as the next big thing, and then he ran into...
then you came along.
He ran into Darren the Damage Elkins, and he managed to, I think that was comeback of the year, and he managed to turn it around, and it's kind of knocked Bektic's confidence. So it's kind of interesting to see how he's going to come back from that. He came back. He got a knockout over Godofredo Pepe. So he got a knockout over him. So he's back on the road, but now he's been chucked in the deep end against Ricardo Lamas. One of the best wrestlers in the featherweight division. One of the most rounded, very good striking. I feel like the experience of Lamas, the strength of Lamas, the physicality will just be too much for him. And he will get the decision. I see Lamas controlling the fight in this one. And I feel like it's going to be a close fight, but I think Lamas is going to dictate where the fight takes place, and that'll give him the advantage.
Yeah, I noticed before, actually, he's got 30% knockout, 30% decision, 30% submission, and 40% decision. So he looks really well-rounded.
Yeah, one of the best.
Okay, Ricardo. Tick. Oh, some other great names.
I want to hear you say this one.
Claudia
Guida.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Guida against Carla Esparza.
Yeah, you got that one. Yeah. Bang on the money.
What are we looking at here?
Simply striker versus wrestler. Guida is one of the best strikers. I enjoy watching her fight. She's been in there with the champ, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, a few times, lost decisions, but they were very close fights, very back and forth. The first fight was a split decision loss. Very good angles, very good feinting. She just was bullied in her last fight. She was kind of bullied around the cage. Jessica Andrade managed to get her down, get on top a few times, steal some rounds, cut her up, and managed to bully her. So that seems to be the weakness in her game. But Carla Esparza is a very slick wrestler, but she's no bully. She's not big enough. She's not physical enough and aggressive enough to get a fighter like Guida to the ground. So I feel like Guida is just going to pick her apart on the feet, and it's going to be a pretty one-sided decision to Guida.
I feel like we'll be at Jurassic Park watching the next one with Alistair Overeem against Curtis Blades. These are two big humans.
Yeah, no, this is a very exciting fight. Blades got his last win over Mark Hunt, so he was able to nullify Hunt's striking, cut him off and get him down to the cage. Be a very similar fight. Overeem fights a lot more tentative now. He's very aware that his chin is not the best, so he likes to keep the fight at range, switch stance and move around. But Blades has got a lot better recently. He's now training an Elevation Fight Team, which I spent some time out there in Denver. Very great, great coaches. He's in a very good environment, especially for a heavyweight like that. And he's been able to develop his game very well to a world-class level. I see him being able to cut the cage off, press Overeem against the cage, and he is one of the best wrestlers in the heavyweight division. I see him getting Overeem down and being able to control him once on the ground. I'm not too sure about a finish, but I feel like Blades controls the fight, gets Overeem down, and takes the decision.
Now this fight.
Don't make me do it.
Oh, I almost won't. CM Punk, who's from wrestling, or that fake wrestling, sounds like a failed rapper, CM Punk, against Mike Jackson, The Truth. What a funny nickname for this fight. Is this, I mean, we can be honest, is this all about selling pay-per-views to, like, the Crosscode, getting the wrestling people to buy it?
100%. You know, that's the only reason. Dana White said it himself. They kicked off Overeem and Curtis Blades off the main card, two of the best heavyweights in the world for this guy. So he must be able to sell some magic number of pay-per-views because the fight makes no sense at all. They're both 0-1, both been beaten by Mickey Gore in about 30 seconds. So there's not a lot of...
Is Mickey Gore any good?
Mickey Gore is he's all right. He's like a UFC caliber fighter, a bottom-tier UFC caliber fighter, and he both beat the crap out of them in about 30 seconds. He wiped the floor with them. So if you want me to go and analyze the fights, it makes it very difficult when they're both getting their ass kicked for about 30 seconds each. 0-1, not a lot to go off. I just don't care. If I was being honest about which one to pick, I'm just not sure I care enough to pick CM Punk.
I hope it's real and they actually have to throw.
They're going to fight. It's just not going to be a very good fight. They're not UFC caliber fighters, and they shouldn't be in there. They don't deserve to be in there. They don't deserve to be in the UFC. They don't deserve to be in the contender series to get in the UFC. These guys wouldn't headline a show in my garage in New Zealand.
That's telling it. That is telling it. Now, real fight.
Real fight.
Andre Arlovski. I love watching this guy. He just looks like the guy that's in solitary confinement that you don't want to mess around with. And Tai Tuivasa has got him. This is cannons.
Yeah, this is a great fight. This is one of the biggest prospects at heavyweight, Tai Tuivasa. That's my guy. I trained with Tai years ago in Thailand, and I've been following his career ever since. Very fast hands. This guy, the hype is real. One of the best strikers. Very good timing. Man, hits like a truck. He takes people out. And he's fighting the chin. Andre Arlovski, he's been knocked out probably close to 10 times cold in his career. So he is also very tentative, but he is a striker. He doesn't go for takedowns. He's not looking to take Tai Tuivasa down and put him on his back, which he would need to do. I feel like Arlovski just has too many miles on the clock to hang with a guy like Ty. Ty comes out and there's no feeling out process. He's touching gloves and then he's swinging. He's trying to take you out. And I feel like he's got far less miles on the clock and he will clip Arlovski early, which I'm picking. And I'm going with Tai Tuivasa by KO.
And maybe even the first round.
Maybe even the first round. Probably the first round.
KO, round 1, goes in the book. Holly Holm. She'll probably always be famous for that one fight, but she's taking on Megan Anderson. Not a bad record, Megan Anderson. What can you make from this matchup?
Yeah, this is Australian Megan Anderson's UFC debut. So they're making her debut against Holly Holm, one of the best bantamweights in the world, but not particularly fighting at featherweight. Megan Anderson is long, she's tall, she's 6 foot tall, and she's nasty. She's a nasty striker. She comes forward, she has very nice combinations, sharp combinations, good accuracy and good placement. This is going to be a striking fight. You know, neither of them are going to look to take this fight at all to the ground. Holly Holm, boxing world champion, kickboxer, very good striker. I see it being a back and forth first round, but I think the size, the pressure, the length of Anderson will lead to her accumulating some good damage and taking the decision.
Wow, really? Anderson by decision.
Back of my girl.
Yeah, is that head or heart there? Anderson by
both.
decision. $5.50. Awesome.
That's not bad.
That's a great tip. That is a great tip. But also, she's got the surprise factor, hasn't she? Because she hasn't been in the UFC.
Yeah, not being in the UFC, but she's a legit featherweight. So there are weight classes for a reason. I feel like Holm is a big bantamweight, but fighting a 6-footer it's a different game.
The main undercard sees Rafael dos Anjos against Colby Covington. Chaos, Covington. USA, Brazil. The arena's going to be going off when these guys walk in. We're one away from the main one. But this looks like a pretty reasonable matchup. And I know in the betting odds, we almost can't split them.
Yeah, so Colby Covington is one of the biggest trash talkers in MMA. He's made quite a name for himself. So this is actually going to be for an interim title. So these two are now competing for an interim title. Winner will fight the champion Tyrone Woodley. And this is a good fight. This is 2 southpaws, and they both had their last fights against southpaws. RDA fought Robbie Lawler, one of the best strikers in the welterweight division. And Colby Covington fought Damian Maia. And Colby Covington made Damian Maia's striking look good. And Damian Maia is not a good striker. So I was able, because they both fought southpaws before and they're fighting southpaws next, there's a lot we can get from their last fights, a lot of information. I feel like RDA is just going to have the far better striking, and his takedown defense has looked phenomenal. His wrestling and his grappling has looked far better up at welterweight now that he has the better gas tank. It looks like he can push the pace a lot more. There was a lot of good information that you can get from that last Maia fight, and there's big holes in Colby Covington's striking game. I feel like RDA pieces Covington up on the feet, and he's able to defend his takedowns. I'm picking RDA by a decision.
By decision. Wins half his fights by decision. Sorry about that accuracy. And then the big one we are really waiting for, Kiwi-born, Aussie-raised, Robert Whittaker, the Reaper, returning from injury. This is going to have massive attention, especially in our part of the world against Yoel Romero, the soldier of God. Is he going to meet his maker?
Is he going to meet his maker? So these two have fought before. This is actually the second fight. This is a rematch. Rob won the last one via decision, but in that fight, he actually had a grade 2 ligament tear in his knee, which he got early in the first round. So early in the first round, you could watch, Rob had to drastically kind of change his movement and change his game plan. So if he's able to beat Yoel with a grade 2 ligament tear in his knee, I'm excited to see what Rob can do completely healthy. Even on one leg, Yoel was not able to establish his wrestling. Rob was scrambling very well, getting back to his feet, and there was not an awful lot of control time from Yoel. Rob defended the shots great, and he looked far sharper and landed the cleaner shots on the feet. So I'm really excited to see what Rob can do fully healthy. And I feel like Rob said it himself. I feel like this is the fight where Yoel starts to show his age. I feel like Rob will make him look like the slower fighter in this matchup. I see Rob picking him apart, and I've actually got him by a KO. I'm back on my boy Rob. And still.
Has Romero been active since that fight? Because obviously Rob hasn't.
Yep. Yoel's coming off a win, so that's what's got him back in the title picture and got him back in contention. So he is looking good. He is still looking sharp. He still does have it. I just think Rob's better. I just think Rob's on a whole different level.
So which is the best? Which is the best one, or maybe the best two fights? Not necessarily for entertainment. Which one do you think he wins or she wins, and that's a definite?
It's hard to tell in MMA because it's such a coin toss every time you go in there. You know, the old banana peel. You could walk out there, you could roll your ankle,
you could walk into a left knee.
You could walk into a left knee or a right knee. So it's hard to pick definites in this game because there are so many factors. All I can do is watch film on each fighter and have a very educated stab at it. A very educated leaning towards someone by
See,
yeah. I'm an evidence guy. I'm a film guy. I like to see it. I like to break it down. I like to take a far closer look at it.
I like to turn the barometer on and see the ferocity that you deliver your messages.
Yeah.
And I think the most ferocious one was Joseph Benavidez by decision was one of them.
That's a good one. Coulter via KO.
Coulter KO.
That's the one.
Look at you go now.
That's the one. Rosa is going down. I got Coulter KO, Benavidez decision. Those are two which I will stake my name on those ones.
Lock it in. All right, Dan. Thanks very much, mate. UFC 225 is massive and not far away from your next fight, I should say, either.
No, I'm 4 weeks out from the next pay-per-view, which is 226. So that's headlined by Cormier. The light heavyweight championship is fighting Stipe Miocic, the heavyweight championship. So it's battle of champions, see who's the baddest man on the planet. And I'm excited to sit cage side and watch that one live.
Yeah, and future champion, of course, with yourself. So go well training in the next few weeks. And thanks for joining us for UFC 225.
Pleasure.